2021 Planning Commission meeting will come to order. Can we stand for the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Time for the roll call.
Roll call. Commissioner Costa?
Here?
Commissioner Gerard?
Here.
Commissioner Lassonde?
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Here.
And Chair Morris.
Here.
Go.
It's time to approve the minutes of the February 16th meeting. Do I have a motion?
All motion.
Do I have a second?
Motion by Reynolds, second by Gerard. Roll call vote. Commissioner Costa?
Aye.
Commissioner Gerard?
Aye.
Commissioner Lassonde?
Aye.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Aye.
And Commissioner Morris.
Aye. We move on to communications.
Thank you, Chair Morris. So last week was our council meeting, and the council introduced the vending ordinance. And as was requested, the ordinance was prepared proposing allowing fixed location vending in the downtown, which is something that we haven't allowed. But per the council stipulation, they wanted there to be either that food vendor's commissary located in the downtown or their brick and mortar restaurant to be located in the downtown. So you have to meet those two conditions, one of the two, in order to vend in the downtown. So it's still a very limited number of food trucks that will have that opportunity, and it sunsets at the end of 2023. Not that they can't readdress it later, but for right now, they just want to time that out. And then also at the council's request, it came with a provision for mobile vending, which we've never done. We've always been a fixed location vending, and that's part of that's predicated on the fact that we have so many private roads, and that's private land ownership. But we did prepare an ordinance that allows mobile vending on or along either public or private rights-of-way. You cannot stop for longer than 30 minutes in one location, as well as you can go to construction sites and vend also for no longer than 30 minutes. So now there'll be 3 categories of vending: fixed location on commercial, fixed location in the downtown, or mobile vending. And so we're working on preparing those 3 different application types. It'll go back next month for a vote and then be effective 30 days after that. So we've got a little time to get our process in place. Yes, sir.
Do the vehicles that, like DoorDash and all these others that deliver food to residents when somebody calls it, do they fall under that mobile vending? Or is
They
that
don't,
something
because they're not soliciting sales. They're just a delivery service. And then also, council extended CAL FIRE's contract. We've been using CAL FIRE for our fire suppression services since 2012, so it's now extended till summer of 2025. They've been a great partner for us, so glad to see that go through. Also, last month, Commission had looked at the Simmons rezone and general plan assignment on Upper Skyway. So that went through, their general plan assignment was adopted, and that's to move it from an unassigned general plan designation to town commercial, and they introduced the ordinance to apply the zoning. So they're aware of that use permit that Commission graciously issued, that as soon as they vote on the zoning next month, then that use permit becomes effective, gives those owners 2 years to get their garage rebuilt as a non-conforming use. And I think they're ready whenever this is ready. Also, council authorized for the Community Development Department to fly for direct hires of hourly and part-time building inspectors. We've been taking a look at our contract services that we've been using since the fire and recognized some areas where we were a little overstaffed, and taking the opportunity to start those baby steps of restaffing with direct hires and building, because right now it's all farmed out to contract. So this is step 1, just for the end of the fiscal year. We had 6 applicants, so we'll be doing interviews in the next couple of weeks, but these are great opportunities for either inspectors who are just new to building inspection, right? We had a long time during the recession where Butte College closed their building information technology program, so nobody was churning out new building inspectors. Either you were licensed before and made it through the recession, or you're probably at the end of your career. So this is a great opportunity for somebody new to that field to get on board, learn the ropes, until we can open up a full-time position, and also just for retired annuitants who just need a little extra golf money and are flexible about, hey, we have a really heavy morning run, do you want to come in? Perfect. So it gives us that flexibility. And so hopefully we'll have those on in the next month. And then also the council authorized the hiring of a second much-needed mechanic. We have one mechanic who oversees 123 pieces of equipment. It's not quite the ratio that we're going for. So he, deservedly so, is going to be promoted to like a fleet supervisor and finally get some help in for him. So that's great. We'll be flying for that position too. So those are the highlights from last week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do we have any public communication?
We have no public communication.
Okay, then we'll move to item number 5, public hearing. Paradise Municipal Code, Planning Commission consideration of a resolution that, if adopted, would recommend town council adoption of proposed text amendments to the sign regulations in the municipal code.
Thank you, Chair Morris. So this is a town-initiated municipal code amendment at the request of the town council to address the future rebuild of commercial signs in the RDA. Last month in February, staff had a conversation with the council about what our policies were going to be from a code enforcement standpoint for abandoned commercial signs. Some are as easy as just flip the sign face around so you can see it's just a vacant sign ready to go. Others need the sign faces removed because they were damaged, but the frame's okay. Others took so much damage, they just need to be brought down to grade. And that's kind of how this conversation developed. Well, what happens when some of these older, especially the large pole and post signs, come down? And council was starting to understand that staff was recommending salvaging the frame anytime it was possible, because there are many instances where that sign frame, much like the example here, couldn't necessarily be rebuilt as it was before because it doesn't conform to any of the sign standards. So they wanted to see some kind of modification that would help address that problem. So the purpose of the update would then to modify Chapter 1734 of the municipal code, and that's what deals with our sign standards, to remove any references to the redevelopment area and agency, which also carries its own separate sign standards. So all jurisdictions in California, per state law, had to dissolve all the redevelopment agencies by February of 2012. For the town, the RDA, as we call it, and it's a generic term for both the geographical area as well as the agency, were first introduced around 2001, really got moving around 2002, 2003. In 2004 is when the town updated its sign standards to add this separate set of standards just for commercial properties located within the physical geographical area of the RDA. And so I want to make sure that everybody understands the difference between the RDA and the zoning. The RDA is just a physical area, but all the commercial properties within it also have their own zoning. About 95% of the commercial properties in the RDA are zoned community commercial. The rest fall under community services, community facilities. Those are things like churches, schools, public, agencies, things like PID. And then also neighborhood commercial. As you get farther up on Skyway, where it starts to turn more residential in nature, you have some pockets of commercial, and those are more low-key kind of professional, just business offices that are compatible with residential neighborhoods. Maybe a bakery, maybe a daycare, those kind of things that are meant to serve the neighborhood that they're located in. And so there's a couple of those on Upper Skyway, but by far, the majority is community commercial. And so what would the amendments to the sign ordinance look like? Because really, it's just the freestanding signs that have their own standard, as well as community commercial properties that are in the RDA prohibited from having those signs up that display like time and temperature, but this would allow them to. And they look professional and nice. I don't think that that's a bad thing. So right now, the RDA and the Scenic Highway Corridor, which is Neal Road, Pence Road, and then Skyway from the entrance of town up to Neal, both share these standards in the first column, right? So monument, which means the sign is flush to the ground. Post signs means it's supported by 200 square feet, and that's just on one side of the sign. We just count one side at a time. 8-foot tall height, and then 1 per site. So if we struck the RDA language, scenic highway corridors would still have this standard for themselves. But the majority of the lots then would now just default back to whatever their zoning standard is for signs. And the majority is going to fall in the middle here, community commercial. So you still get the monument and the post, but now you get the pole, right? Singular support. Still 100 square feet, but you get to go a little taller, 2 of me for those signs. And you get 2 per site. So it's a little bit more generous. And then for that small percentage of, the community facility services, neighborhood commercial, understandably, their signs are smaller because those zonings tend to be stuck also within residential neighborhoods. So they want it to be compatible. So monument or post, 40 square feet, 8-foot max, 1 per site. So the Planning Commission action requested tonight is to adopt Resolution 2102, which would recommend Town Council adoption of these text amendments to Title 17 of the Municipal Code. If that's done, then it's tentatively scheduled to go for introduction with the council in April. They'd vote in May, be effective in June. There's no projects that are being held up, because of this. We're just getting ahead of it now, and understandably, this agency in this area has been defunct for 9 years. It seems reasonable. So of course, if commission has any questions about this, I'm happy to answer them.
Have any questions? Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Have any ones to speak at the public hearing?
I did not receive any email comments or phone calls regarding this item.
I will close the public hearing. And if we want to bring it back for discussion, we can. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion
I so move that we adopt as written.
and a second.
I'll second.
Who seconded?
It was a fight.
Okay.
I'll let her have it.
Okay, motion by Lassonde, seconded by Costa. Roll call vote, Commissioner Costa,
Aye.
Commissioner Gerard,
Aye.
Commissioner Lassonde,
Aye.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Aye.
and Chair Morris.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And is there any other business?
So we do, none other business, but I do have some upcoming agenda items for commission. I don't believe either of these will be ready to come to you next month, possibly the month after. One is we have a tentative subdivision map that we are looking at. I might have mentioned this previously. This is one that expired years ago, and they've revamped it a little bit and brought it back. So we just deemed it complete to process on Monday. Now we are in the midst of doing the environmental review, which should go really fast because there's already one to build off of, right? We just need to update it a little bit. Once we identify any kind of mitigation measures we have to assign to it, in this case, there'll be a hydrant, there'll be some water main upgrades, things like that, to bring those substandard utilities up. We identify the mitigation measures. We send it back to the applicant. They have to agree to it for us to move forward. Otherwise, it would trigger an EIR. So once they agree to it, then we can circulate it. We have to send it to the state, to Sacramento. They circulate it among state agencies for a minimum of 30 days. We wait, see if we get any comments back. We also publish to let, the town citizens know it's available also. If there's no comments, we will schedule it for the next planning commission meeting. You'll get to see that map. You'll see the conditions that are being proposed to be assigned to it. Just a reminder, there's parcel maps and there's subdivision maps, right? Parcel maps are when you create 4 or less, subdivision 5 or more. With subdivisions, there's going to be this long list of conditions and improvements that the developer has to do before they record the map. And that's a big difference between the two. With the smaller maps, the 4 or less, those developers can just defer those improvements to whoever buys a lot and builds first. So as a buyer, it's nice to buy in a subdivision because you know the roads are improved already, all the utilities are already put in versus the other way. So you'll see a lot of conditions, but they'll have 3 years to complete them all. Then they submit for their final map, we get it recorded. So these are long processes. The other project's the distillery that I've talked about on Wayland. So it's still out for comment right now, and we're still in that phase where we're determining if they've turned in enough paperwork to us and enough information for us to deem the project complete. And it could be little things like we need to have a better idea of hours of operation or estimated customers, that kind of, activities, little things like that. We need to know everything there is to know about this so we can condition appropriately so that the neighbors have an accurate understanding of what's happening in the public. And so that's what we're doing right now is the agencies are all reviewing. They'll kick us back the comments to let us know, yes, there's enough information here. We can provide you comments for their use permit, or no, we need them to detail out some more stuff for us. And that's pretty common for a project of this magnitude. So eventually, it will come to you for decision making. It'll be a use permit that the commission would have final say on unless it's appealed. And then it would go to council. But otherwise, it sits with commission. So that's on the horizon too. It is agricultural residential. So things like wineries and also distilleries would fall under agricultural processing. So it's a potential use, but with a conditional use permit. So we have to look at things like traffic flows, hours of operation, noise, any kind of odor. I'm not sure. Do these things produce an odor that's going to be offensive to the neighbors, that kind of thing, right? You learn a lot during these review processes, that's for sure.
Commissioners, do you have anything else you want to bring up? No? Okay, I move to adjourn.